All right. Power wash time. Let's see if this takes like 5 minutes to load up again. I probably should have done this before, but I think they said it was only the first time that it took that long to load up. There we go. Nice. Okay, cool. So we were doing Shrek. Let's continue. We've done literally no part of this. All right, let's see. What should we do? Let's do the guard post first. It's nice and slow. Dopamine. Back to this. I was saying yesterday, this game might be challenging for me during morning streams because I usually start off pretty tired, and then we get more and more awake as the stream goes on. But this doesn't really ask a lot of me, so I'm wondering how awake this is going to make me. Didn't have the best sleep last night, my own fault, but. It should be okay. It'll be just fine. Copium. Nice. Telling you, man, yellow nozzle is the goat. The goat noz. Nice. Oh, it's the wall. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, looking good. Hey, buddy. All right. So entrance road goes to here. So this is entrance road. Yum. Nice. 875. Holy shit. Well, this looks awful. Oh, dang. Gotta go slow here. And this is the extra long, too. Like, it's not, it's no joke. Pretty far away. Nice. Gotta be nice and patient here. No points for speed. I don't even know if I'll get this one done today, to be honest. I started a bit late, too, which is my bad. Didn't have the best sleep. Nice. $5. Look at this tree. It's ruined. We'll put this somewhere. I guess there's... Trying to figure out what to do first. I guess I'll do this middle bit first. Or I guess next, not first. Look at all this muck. Nice. The trees after, I think. Cool. Eh. The trim is different, right? Yeah. It's missing a patch somewhere. Oh. Thank you. $6. Sweet. I'm rich. Nord, thanks for gifting a sub, man. What the hell is going on around here? Thanks for the gifted sub, man. I really appreciate it. How you doing? Getting ready to head to work. Nice. How's work going? I am indeed live. Usually live most mornings, Monday to Thursday. It was a bit late today. Decided to have an iced coffee at 6 p.m. yesterday. So I was up a bit too late, but still managed to sleep okay. Yep. Yep. Kids were yelling something about, oh, gotcha. I was asking you how work was, and then, yeah, I was a bit late this morning. Stayed up a bit late last night. Had an iced coffee at 6 p.m. Not smart. Although those things don't really have much caffeine, so I was able to get to bed just after 1 a.m. Power washing plants seems kind of hilarious. I'm just watering them at this point, feels like. I guess getting the dirt off them is important so they can breathe and see the sun, but something about it feels funny. I definitely don't think we're finishing this job today. That's okay. You don't have to. Totally looks like there's still dirt. Oh my god, Lord Farquaad is here. This is gonna be fucking terrifying. Oh my god. It's like a Disney mascot, dude. Beautiful. Look at that. It's Lord Farky. The Farkster. Go fark yourself. Oh, dang. At least scaffolding works really well for these walls and banners and stuff. And at least these things aren't super strict on how clean they need to be. Wow. Yeah, the trees are super lenient. Wow. All right, sweet. I guess we can kind of just do the walls. We can clean from this direction. I gotta use the scaffolding for that. Let's see. We could clean these carts. They're gonna be really annoying. Getting them out of the way might be nice. Hey, pre-sample. Those look like they're going to be annoying. Yeah. Yep. But you got to do it at some point, right? Might as well get them out of the way. I just did a bunch of easy stuff, so time to punish myself. Definitely gonna miss something here. Hey, Gilbert. Another day, another thing to wash. Yup. Absolutely. Nope. Focus. At least the wheels aren't like super strict or anything, which is nice. Maybe it won't be so bad. How do things get this grimy? That's what we're trying to figure out. Lord Farquaad says he doesn't know, but I got a feeling that little bastard is probably behind all this. We finished the SpongeBob one yesterday. I don't know if you were lurking for that, and turns out it was just neglect. Nobody had cleaned in a while. There was no big plot. Everyone was pulling a spark. I was, but from bed. Yeah, fair. Well, thank you for the lurk. The back of the wagon. Yeah, this is super not strict, which is nice. Oh. Wagon bedge. There we go. The canopy. Excuse me. Yeah, I'm in Shrek. Yes, we are no longer in Bikini Bottom. Or as it's pronounced by the locals, Bikini Bottom. Oh, this all counts as part of the canopy. Okay. There we go. Ding. That wasn't too bad. And the walls look insane, but they won't be too bad either because we got scaffolding. And this is like the one situation where scaffolding is actually really, really good. And isn't just a glorified ladder. Although I could probably even get a lot of it from the top of this next wagon, at least on this wall. So, rip. Guess we should get the road too while we're under here. Yellow nozzle gang. All right. Nope. Wow. Yeah, this is like, you only need like 70% of it cleaned. Let's clean the road underneath first. Get the wheels done first. Gonna get a text message soon. In game. Okay. There you go. I heard your court of Sprayalot has a large round table where every knight has a seat to discuss orders of the city. The orders of the day. Court of Sprayalot. Don't know about that one, bud. Think we should rebrand if that is the name. Duloc has a larger table with just one seat. Mine. Alright, man. This guy definitely drives a lifted truck for sure. Yeah, I'm happy to be playing this again. And the DLC for the first time. I'm playing Sea of Stars off stream. I was like, I want to stop finishing games off stream, so I'm not going to play Power Wash off stream. Well, at least this version off stream. I'll be playing the other version, the PS5 version with Nikki, but the PS4 version we will reserve for on stream. And then I'm playing, getting through Sea of Stars again. Played a few hours of that last night. I won't have like plenty of time to do other games because, like during the week anyway, but on weekends I can. I forgot how much fun Sea of Stars was, and now there's like a couple of expansions with it, so I actually have extra trophies to get beyond just replatting the game. I was gonna play Chariot. It's a PS4 game I platted, but it came out on PS3 first. I was gonna play that off stream, but the game is just so good that I want to save it for stream someday, so that you guys can see it. It's like a really good combination of things. It's adorable. It's super fun. It's physics-based, so you can jank the shit out of it sometimes. And it's Canadian-made. It's made by Canadian devs. And with a grant that I'm not sure still exists. The Canadian Media Fund. So I want to save it. Because it's super fun. So I was like, I better find something else to play. So, Sea of Stars. Every time I read Wagon Wheel, the song plays in my head, and I just want to, like, punch myself in the throat. The song is so awful. Nice. All right. There was something. Was it City Wall that I just saw? All right. I think this one's clean, though. I'm definitely going to have missed something on these Wagones. The Swaggin' Wagons. There's a talking police dog that helps him solve crime. Yeah. Nice. All right. Not bad, not bad, not bad. So I would imagine there's different roads. Yeah, okay. So let's clean this section of road. Shake the hero, abs of steel, sha-la-la-la. What is the name again? Of what? Of the game? Oh, Chariot. Like the vehicle that you put horses in front of. A big wagon with wheels, if you think about it. It's drawn by horses. Usually there's only 2 wheels, though. But it's a super fun game. It's relatively old now. I think it's from like the mid-2010s. But you're basically like, you play as a princess and she's transporting her father to his final resting place. And you're just and you can play it in co-op too. You can play as her husband, and you're basically bringing your dead dad to different sepulchers to see if he wants to rest there, while trying to get a whole bunch of gold and riches to satisfy his ego. So it's just very silly. There's not much dialogue. Only the king talks when his ghost comes out of his little coffin that he's in, and that's every so often. But it's like everything I want in a game. So it's charming, it's cute, it's physics-based, so you can do some really silly shit with it. There's cool power-ups and like gadgets that you can use that make the game more interesting. There's a really challenging trophy list. Like it was, I think, the first ever sub 1% rarity platinum that I ever got. I got it in 2021. I played it all off stream. There's like speed running in it that you have to do. There's a whole bunch of stuff. So it's super, super fun, and I had a great time with it. So I wanted to do it again, and this would be my 5th sub 1% rarity platinum, which is pretty cool. And yeah, so definitely, I have it all lined up. If I hit, I think it's at 16%, or 12%. So I think if I hit the 11 to 15 slot on the wheel, then I'll play Chariot. Yeah, couch co-op. So only local, but still pretty cool. That's why they had to make the tree so easy to do. I don't want to do this wall yet. The ground. I was working on the ground. I did want to get the tree out of the way, though. There's a talking police dog that helps him solve crimes. Hunt down crooks in the streets of LA. How many games have it now? Yeah. Feels like it's kind of making a comeback because I think Power Wash Sim 2 actually is going to have, speaking of the devil, I think Power Wash Sim 2 is also going to have split screen, which is super cool. Chariot doesn't need split screen because you both have to be on the same screen to pull the Chariot. But yeah, super cool. It's like fun, it's cute, it's charming, physics, big physics guy, because you can exploit them, and that makes the game more deep, in my opinion, usually, unless it's janky, super janky, and you have to. Really challenging, really rewarding. The game asks, like the trophy list asks a lot of the player, and I really like that when the game is fun, I should clarify. 3 streams of water. I don't think you do. No. Oh, you do. But it's honestly not that good for this. But you know what it would be good for, Vix, is the walls. So maybe I won't need the, what do you call it after all? Tonk Lord, thank you for the Prime sub. Welcome to the stream. Name does not sound familiar to me. And I'm wondering if I should be ashamed about that. First time subbing. Followed for a year, though. Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. That's very kind of you. could have used that anywhere, and you used it here, so I appreciate it. It's good for the ground. If you crouch, it gets long reach. Yeah, that's true. In the street where they live. All right, let's test that out. You probably want it like this. And like, it's not bad. It just kind of, you end up leaving stuff. Although it's definitely quicker for sure. That's my speedrun strat. It's a good one. I did this on the pyramid a fair bit. That's pretty good. I still have to go and like mop up a bit, but that's not a huge deal. I think it'll be really good for the walls too, so thank you for reminding me. I thought that you only had it for certain levels. The only thing I don't like is like having to clean up this nonsense now, like, but it's not that bad. Do the big stuff first. Hope that it's enough. Surely. Thank you. $10. Oh, hell yeah. We can do this section of road as well. How's your day going, Vix? Ye trash. I was talking to the trash can. Pretty good. Just went for a 10K walk. Now I'm studying. Nice. Oh, it is this. Okay. Didn't even notice. Stupid snake. Nice. Oops. Still liking the new apartment? Oh, yeah. Definitely. It's great having my own space again. I'm plotting something. Eventually. This is like super long-term plans. So for the last years, well, basically since I'd been back to work, I've been kind of thinking about my future and stuff. And so when I was with Mary Lynn, you know, I was basically like, all right, well, I tried the full-time streaming thing. It didn't really work out. Like, it did for a bit, but then it didn't. I couldn't keep it sustainable. So I got to think of something else now. And she wanted to own a home. So I was like, all right, I'll buy into that. Literally and figuratively, like, start saving for a home. And obviously, home ownership would be great. But as many of us know, lol XD. The prices on homes are LOL. So I was thinking about it the other day. I have like a decent nest egg that I managed to save up. It's not a lot, but it's a decent amount. And so I was like, ooh, full-time streaming again. But then I thought about it and I was like, well, no, like this is, with how expensive my living expenses are right now, I could only do it for like a year. And that feels like such a waste of money. But so I was like, no, no, no. And for the last year, I've basically been like, no, that's over. That chapter of my life is over, like blah, blah, blah. But I don't think I'm ready to give up on it as like a career. So I've been sort of, for the last week or two, I've been sort of like letting myself think like, well, what if I do? Like, how would I get back, you know? Rather than just being like, nope, don't even think about it. It's just going to make me sad. So I've been thinking, you know, like how am I going to get back if I do this, you know? And so I've been coming up with some ideas and things like that. And I've got a few. I'm probably going to take a big chunk of my nest egg and invest it later this year. Not in anything like crazy, just more than sitting in a savings account, you know, because it doesn't really, savings accounts don't really do much for you in terms of keeping your money. Because if you think about it, like if I've got like, you know, $100 in a savings account or something like that, the interest on it is not keeping pace with inflation. So next year that $100 isn't worth as much and it hasn't grown. So I want to invest a decent chunk. I still want an emergency fund, but a decent chunk of money into something that at least keeps pace with inflation, hopefully a little bit more, but I won't be picky. And then you know, let that sit there for years, a couple years. And while I'm doing that, try and build up to the point where, you know, I'm making a bit more for my stream, for my YouTube. I'm close to being able to monetize on YouTube, close-ish. And streaming on YouTube does count towards that, so this is helping. And then eventually the idea would be that I do go back full-time streaming, but I don't immediately like dip out of other employment. Like I would probably keep working part-time. If I can find somewhere that gives me a stable schedule so that I could have a stable streaming schedule, then that would be the goal, because then I could plan to stream. Like, so ideally the thought process right now is like at my work, we have a part-time position on the weekends. It's currently taken and I'm the one who's doing the full-time version of it. But at some point, if I drop down to part-time, I could take that weekend. I would probably, my wages would go down a little bit, but I would be able to take that weekend shift and I would have a stable schedule and stable income and stuff. And so that way I would burn through my savings way slower than I would be if I just immediately dropped everything. So this is not anything that's going to happen anytime soon. This is like months, if not years away. But it is something I want to do. And hopefully by that point, I'm making enough from my stream and from YouTube that I'm not burning at all. And it's something that I can continue to do. And then obviously the ideal goal would be slowly continue building up until I can stream full time. And that is my sole source of income. But that might never happen. So, but I'm coming into it this time with like a little bit more experience and a little bit more, like rather than just dipping out and immediately dumping all of my money into full-time streaming again, trying to come at it from a little bit more of a, like, all right, I've tried that and it wasn't sustainable. So I got to try and figure out how to make it sustainable, because I don't want to not do this. I have a lot of fun with it. And so I'd like to continue. Buy yourself a tiny house. That would be something. I don't know how many of those they have in Ottawa, but I'm also like, so I also have this like outside thought. Probably not the best strategy, but like, so we're, you know, in Canada, we're like, build. We got to build some houses. Blah, 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 blah. We just elected a new government who's like, we're going to build houses. Blah, we're going to do it. I'm like, all right, cool. So if we build a crap ton of houses, that's good, because probably drives pricing down. But then in 20 years, the boomers are all going to be pretty much dead. And if that happens, aren't we going to have like an insane number of available houses? And won't that just tank housing prices into the dirt? I don't know. Maybe not. Housing prices never seem to truly go down. They'll stay level for a bit, but they never go down. So I don't know. But there's part of me that's like, if I just hold on for like 10, 15 years, maybe I could get a house for like, you know, on the cheap, because there's going to be a lot of them if they build the way that they're saying they're going to. So And then the boomers are all going to pass away, and then their houses are going to be empty. So, yeah. I'm not really in any rush to own a home, at least in that sense. So, like, because it was Mary Lynn's thing, and she wanted to own a home, and that was her dream, and that was something that she wanted to do. And so I was going to, help her out with that. But now I don't have to do that, so. Oh, thanks, Gil. I really appreciate that. That's very kind of you to say. I definitely want my goal with trophy hunting. I mean, I don't have like an end goal with it, which is probably for the best, because when I have an end goal and if I reach that end goal, I'm like, all right, see ya. But what I want from my profile and my trophy collection is to be like, somebody to look at and be like, wow, this guy can plat anything. That's kind of the goal. So that's part of the reason I did Tetris, because that was, in that realm of like, I've never played Tetris in that capacity before, but I did it. And it's also nice to push yourself, or at least for me. I like pushing myself every so often. Not all the time, but sometimes it's nice to be like, yeah, I'm 33 years old. I still got it. But yeah, that's the goal at some point as it stands right now. And it's been nice. The last few weeks have been really good. I had, obviously in 2022, I had a lot of struggles too. But in 2024 and earlier this year, I didn't feel like I had like a North Star in my life. I didn't feel like I had like a guiding principle or something I was aiming towards. And so that was depressing for me, because it's like, well, what am I doing any of this for? Like just to, why are we still here? Just to suffer? No, but like, I'm just like an NPC at that point. Like I have nothing going on in my life. I'm just existing. I'm not working towards anything. I wasn't able to save for a house. I'm still not able to save for a house, particularly like $200 a month isn't going to do it. This isn't the 90s. So having like a guiding principle that I can always be working towards helps me, because it makes the really crap days feel a lot more worth it. If that makes any sense. I'm sure we've all been there. But having like those days where I'm like, fuck, I don't want to work. Like, why am I doing this? Why am I putting up with this? Oh yeah, it's for this reason. It's for something better. Like, all right, well that makes things better. Makes things more palatable for me. So that's the goal. Don't know when it's going to happen. Don't know how long it's going to take. But we'll get there. And in the meantime, I'm still streaming like 17 hours a week, if not more. I'm pretty happy about that. Might, but also all their kids and grandkids who could never afford a house will move into them. Yeah, Vix, but the thing is, like, the boomers are the biggest cohort of our population. Like, I have a feeling it's going to come out that that's why our previous administration was so, like, gung-ho on immigration, is because, like, our birth rate is declining, and our economic system is built on perpetual growth. And so if you have the biggest cohort ever of your population, aka the boomers, if you have them all disappearing and you're not replacing them, then the economy can't grow. And so that means that you have to replace them with somebody. And so those people, if you're not replacing them from inside your country, then you're going to replace them from outside your country. And that's basically it. I think I would imagine it boils down to just that. But they didn't keep up with like infrastructure investments and stuff, so one of my neighbors has been like drilling shit into his walls on and off for the last like 2 weeks. It's very cool. It's not that annoying, but and like we're set for, they're all the friggin', conservative things. Like, these kids shouldn't even worry. They're set for the biggest wealth transfer in history. And it's like, yeah, that's because you guys have all the wealth. You fucking dragons. Just sitting on it. No, I need all these houses. we went out and we earned that wealth. It's like, well, yeah, I mean, nobody's taking that away from them, but shit. You're supposed to use that wealth to create opportunities, not keep them all for yourself. I'm also very much like one of those people who's like, how much do I really need, you know? Like my goal, and I said this a lot when I was full-time streaming and, you know, my stream was doing all right. Like if I made 50 grand a year US and then you had just adjusted that for inflation every year after that, I would be probably completely fine for the rest of my life. I don't need much. And so that's part of the reason I think that this, that I can still make full-time streaming work is because I don't need a lot. I'm not one of those people who needs like a super lavish lifestyle. And so I won't be leaning on my viewers to get it. Max's basement and save up. Honestly, I've thought about it, but he lives like so far away from anything. Like he lives in Gatineau. But we'll see. Maybe it'll come to that. Because he has offered that before. I don't know if that offer's still on the table. And who knows? Like maybe in a few years he'll be like, actually, nah. I kind of like having my own house. Which, like, yeah, fair. You paid for it. He's done a lot of work on his house. You're saving enough you can do the whole driving thing and have a car and then nothing is far. True. That is true. You're not wrong. Nice. It's a big job, dude. We still got an hour. Let's see what kind of headway we can make. Oh, this trim is... What? Oh, here it is. Adulting is tough. Yeah, it's alright, though. I'll be okay. Been doing it since I was 18. Just gotta live within my means. Stay disciplined and stuff. It's, you know, it's definitely not the most fun. I wish I had everything I want, but I don't. That's okay. Like 4 out of 10. You know, I was thinking the other day, so I'm 33 now, which means I've been gaming since I was 3. So I've been gaming for 30 years now. And so I was thinking about it and I was like, damn, that's a long time. And I was trying to estimate how many hours I'd gamed in my life. And it's probably like between 40 and 50K. And I was like, all right, like how is that distributed? Like, when did I do all this gaming, you know? And I think the vast majority of it, or at least the majority of it, has been in my adult life. Because when I was a kid, I was only able to play like, 30 minutes, an hour a day, except for on weekends when we could play a bit more. But I've done 24-hour streams. I think the investing is a good idea. That's kind of like my bare minimum for sure. Is just like, I got to do something, because I've got money sitting in a savings account and it's making like $20 a month. It's like so not fucking worth it. So it's going to be worth less next year. So definitely got to try and find some vehicle I can put it in that is like decent. Like I don't need like 15% return a year. I just want something that keeps pace with inflation. Maybe outpaces it a little bit. That would be nice. So my money gets more valuable. But I don't need anything crazy. ETFs or mutual funds easy? Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. I'll have to look into it a bit more because I also don't want to do like the financial advisor thing because it's, it's just me losing more of my money. But Bitcoin is a new thing. Oh my God, you're right. That's what I'll do. Invest in Dogecoin. Pump and dump, baby. That's allowed. It's fine that we're doing that. Nobody needs to be investigated over that. It's fine. I cannot imagine investing in, like, buying any meme coin. Just being like, yes, I have $40,000 in Dogecoin. Just waiting, because if it ever hits more than, like, 2 cents a coin, then, you know, I'm going to be the world's first quadrillionaire. You're like, all right, I guess. I mean, you know, could have done that with Bitcoin, and you actually might have been. So who the fuck am I to judge? But it does seem pretty stupid. Money hole armchair analyst is the way to go. Yeah, I never know. I'm not sure how serious you are, but I never know, right? Because, like, paying fees to somebody when literally all I've done is just put all of my money into one thing seems really dumb. Like, I'm not looking to make this, like, a huge thing. I'm not trying to play the stock market. I'm not trying to, like, understand trends. Just give me something that's, like, reliable, gives a bit of a return, and I don't have to think about it. And in that way, I don't need somebody to manage my money. I don't need, you know, a financial advisor. Somebody's just like, here, put it in this. It'll give you like 5% a year. Like, all right, cool. Works. I don't know too much about this stuff, and I, you know. Beanie Babies, great investment. True. You know what? I'll just invest in video game media. Time to start buying. The time is now. Now that everybody knows how valuable stuff is. Low-cost index funds, you'll find plenty of good ones out there. Yeah. Thanks for the tip, though. I think that's probably the way I'd probably go. Probably. Something nice and easy. Nothing that's going to, you know, set me up for retirement in 2 years, but... Beanie Babies. Yes. This is good and correct to me. Beanie Babies. Is that a new startup? Dopamine. Join an MLM and get rich quick. True. Could always win the lottery. These are all very good ideas. Thank you. Thank you. I was thinking about it. I was like, man, if I got like... I was trying to think. So, you know, everybody's like, oh my God, like, what would you do if you won the lottery? Blah, 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 blah. And so I was like, let's rephrase that question. How much would you need to win from a lottery, do you think, to live for the rest of your life comfortably? And I think it's like 2 million. Sorry if you guys can hear that. I think it's like 2 million, honestly. Because I'm trying to think, like, if I buy a decent house for like 500K, which is a wild thing to say in a sentence, that a decent house is 500K, but it is. If I buy a 500K house, right? I still have 1.5 mil left. Surely, with smart investment, I could bank that the rest of my life, right? Like, because even if you think like my costs are like 20K a year, I still have 1.5 million. You know? Which baffles me, because you see all these people who are like, oh, I'm like, you know, I'm worth like 50 million and I need to, you know, I'm stressed all the time. It's like, fucking why? Like, sell your stock. Pick up a hobby. Shit, dude. Oh, you guys can't hear that much, I guess. Maybe a little bit. Like, here's money management. Stop. At some point, you know, you're never going to be the richest person in the world. If you're worth 50 million, you could buy everything you ever wanted and still have like 48 million, you know? Like, Jesus, what do we need? Spend enough to buy a duplex, rent out the other half, easy peasy. I don't know if I'd want to rent, honestly. I've had some pretty candid conversations with landlords, and they're all like, renting fucking sucks. Like, when we lived at Esprit, Vixen, I don't know if you ever visited me there, but when we lived at Esprit, our landlord was like showering us with praise, and all we did was not destroy the house and pay rent on time. That's how low the bar is. Like, the previous guy apparently was like stuck in bankruptcy court, and so they were lucky if they were going to get 13 cents on the dollar of whatever he owed them. Like, that doesn't sound like a stress-free passive income lifestyle to me, you know? Like, I'd rather just have a small place. Like, I like my apartment. I don't need much bigger than that, honestly. But I'd probably go for, like, you know, maybe like a 1,000 square foot house. Like, my apartment's about 700 square feet. So maybe a little bit more space would be good. But I don't need a lot more. Like, the townhouse that I lived in with Mike and Jody, that was, I think, 1,500 square feet or something like that. And even that, like, I don't need that much space. Shit. The one that was down by the water? No, that was Prestige. We were renting that one. It was it was up in Avalon there. Never been. Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah. Yeah, it was the second place we lived, 2023 to about mid 2024. That's another thing. I've been, because basically every time so I moved in with Mary Lynn in 2022. Basically every time we moved in after that was at her. Every time we moved after that was at her behest, because it was something, you know, like something she was like. Our first apartment was probably too small for both of us to be working from home, so that didn't help. And then the next house, we had neighbors upstairs that were like really awful, like just your textbook, like, don't give a shit about anybody but themselves neighbors, like running a freestyle bowling league in their living room kind of neighbors, just like noise and crashing and, you know, all the time. And there was nothing we could do about it. Bylaw wouldn't come, and our landlord couldn't do anything about it because the condo core wouldn't do anything about it unless bylaw came. So it was a bit of a mess. So we had to move from there. And then I had to move out after we broke up. So it's like, I moved 4 times in less than 3 years, mostly not because I wanted to. But now I can live here as long as I want. This building's rent controlled, so it's not going to spiral out of control and go crazy. It's not condos or anything. So it's only going to go up so much a year, like, you know, basically with inflation. So that's also nice. Like, so for the first time in like years, I've had both a stable job and stable living at the same time. Because I wouldn't count streaming as a particularly stable job. So full-time streaming, I didn't really, and even then, like, I moved in 2018, I then moved in 2019, 2022, 2023, 2024, and 2025. So moved a lot. Haven't really had stable housing for a while. And hadn't had a stable job since 2019 until last year. So now it's like, okay, now I feel like I can actually plan stuff, right? Because I have this base that I'm going on. Living with Mike and Jody was pretty stable. Yes, it was. 2.5 years. But I always knew at some point I was going to have to move again. Like, and not because I wanted to. Like, I could have lived that way forever. Maybe not forever, but I could have lived that way for a long time. My rent was also like, you know, $540 a month instead of $1,550 a month, like it is now. But I was also streaming at the time, so I didn't have a stable job. Yeah. Well, that was it, right? They were like, at some point, we're also going to want to own our own home and have our own space and not be cooped up with a roommate. And it's like, totally get it. I tried to be the best roommate I could, but I'm still a roommate at the end of the day, right? Like, that's its own kettle of fish. Having lived with roommates a large chunk of my adult life, I totally get it. So now I've got a good, stable job. Wish the pay was a bit more, but, you know, it's what it's. I've got stable living. I'm slightly cash flow positive. I managed to put away $300 last month. Not putting away the $1,000 a month I was when I was living with Mary Lynn, but you know, cross that bridge, right? All of my living expenses doubled or more than doubled after we broke up. So that's the game, part of the game that we're playing right now. So feeling like I can actually plan things is quite nice. It's a bit liberating. That's everything there. Yeah, I did. They gave me the maximum raise they could, which was really nice. It's 4.3%. So it ends up being like, so I was making 20, now I'm making 20.86. So not a full dollar, but my manager did give me like the biggest raise he possibly could, and he had to get it approved by head office. So that is I'm happy to stay because that's very nice. That's a nice thing to do. I do think I've earned it. Like, I think I'm pretty good at my job. But still, it's still a nice thing to, like, I'm not entitled to it by any means, so it's still a nice thing to have your immediate boss be like, hey, you're doing great, keep it up. Here's some proof that I think you're doing great. That isn't just like, oh, you get one extra day off a year. It's like, no, here's an extra few thousand a year. Thank you. Especially in a retail environment, because it's very, very difficult a lot of the time for folks to justify that kind of a raise. But my job is less retail and more administrative, and yeah, so we'll see how it goes. But so far so good. I'm pretty happy with it. It's a party planner. That is not my job, but what I do is I work in a music store, so sell instruments and stuff. But we have a lesson center, so if you want to take music lessons, we offer that in our store. We have a lot of teachers and stuff, and I'm the administrator of that. So I help people with the registration process. I help teachers with any issues they have with students. I make sure our teachers are getting paid by their students that they have. Any scheduling stuff, all that kind of thing. That's what I do on a day-to-day. It's not a super complex job, but I do like it. It's got its own challenges because it's people-based, right? So, not only am I dealing with customers, but I'm also dealing with teachers who have their own needs and ego and stuff like that. So it's pretty cool. It's a very, very interesting job. And then, of course, with collections and everything. And it's actually funny because our teachers are contracted, so they're not... where am I putting this? Over here. Our teachers are contracted, so they're not employees. So it's a bit of a different relationship. And like our store has, I think 12 employees and 2 managers, or maybe 14, 2 of them being part-timers. But we have 18 teachers. So I'm not their manager. I'm not their boss. I'm not anything like that. But I do have to manage them in a certain sense, like make sure they're on top of their stuff and make sure that there's no customer complaints and make sure everybody's getting what they want out of the partnership with the company. So it's pretty cool. It's definitely a unique job. It's not something I've ever done before, but I'm enjoying it. And it's music, so that's pretty fucking sweet. Getting to work close to, like, it's funny because I'm the musician in my family, right? Like, nobody else in my family really plays music. Everybody likes music, but nobody really plays it. But then I go to like a music store and I work with, you know, the other employees who are all in bands, or the people who teach lessons, all the teachers who are like, you know, some of them are working on PhDs, and I'm just like, Jesus Christ, these are musicians. Holy moly. It's crazy. You could teach piano lessons? Nah. I mean, maybe, but I don't have any qualification for that. So it would be pretty weird. Like, I don't have any teaching experience. I think I'm okay at teaching, like, if I know what I'm talking about. I mean, hell, that was half the appeal of me as a streamer in Fall Guys and Rocket League, so... So I think I could do it, but I don't have any, like... I don't have any experience with any methods or anything like that. But I definitely try and help the teachers if they're struggling with, you know, a student being a wiener. I have to, you know, I can offer them. We brainstorm together and try and come up with solutions to make it a better experience for everybody. And it's nice because it's like, it's less of a retail space of like, oh, customer's always right, and more of like, well, do they want these lessons to be good or no? You know, so there's a lot less of that I have to put up with, where customers can just walk in and be like, no, I want it this way. It's like, yeah, but that's not how it works, you know? And so I have a little bit more leeway to not have to just kowtow to some person who comes in just because they're paying for stuff. Granted, I try and make it as seamless an experience as possible, but, you know. These things can be fairly liquid. Yeah, it definitely could be worse. Could definitely be worse. The one thing is that I'm the, well, other than the part-timer who is still relatively new and also a little bit shy, which is not what you want in this job. I'm the only one who does my job. So if I'm not there, if I take a day off, then nothing gets done. So that kind of sucks, because even when I take vacation later this summer in July, like I'm gonna like we've got the part-timer working, but he can't really handle anything, like any customer complaints or anything like that. I have to deal with all those. So that kind of sucks a little bit. But it also means that like I'm way more invested in this job than I have been in other jobs in the past, where I'm like one of 15 people doing something, and it's like data entry. Nice. Special clients, yeah. Yeah. I'm pretty good at the delicate dance of conversation that goes into that. One of the trickiest parts of the job, and the job that gives most coordinators the most discomfort, is collections, which is like somebody's taken lessons but they haven't paid for them. So you have to try and get that money. I'm pretty good at that. Like, well, I prioritize it very heavily, let's say that. So my crowbar has gotten a lot of use, broken a lot of kneecaps to get my money. But part of the reason that it's so important to me is because, like, the way that this pay structure works in the lesson center is that the teachers make most of what they charge. They make 2/3 of it. And so if I can't ensure that they're getting their money, why would they stay and keep teaching? And we've got a lot of really great teachers. So it's like, if it was just the company eating, you know, a couple $100 lost a month or something, I might be a little bit less inclined to like go hard in the paint. But, you know, these are teachers who, this is one of their many jobs as a musician. Like, you don't usually get, we have a couple teachers who are like full time and teach 5 days a week and stuff, but a lot of teachers only teach like 2 or 3 days a week and then have other shit going on. So if I can't get them the money that they're owed, then they don't have any stability here. And if they don't have any stability, then why would they take the job, right? And so I'm much more willing to be like, nope, give me the money, basically, obviously in a more polite way than that, but give me the money that you owe me, because most of it goes to the teachers. And so that helps a lot. And I want them to show that, like, I'm bought in, like I've got their back, you know, because that's also another part of my job, is like I'm kind of a shield for people. And I'm realizing I like being in that capacity to a certain extent. I like being the support role. I like helping people out and letting them focus on teaching, and I'll deal with the annoying stuff of like getting the money and scheduling and accommodations and things like that. Like I can handle that. You guys just focus on teaching. I like being in that role to a certain extent. Nice place with their workers. Yeah, well, that's the thing, right? Is like the teachers aren't actually employed by the music store. They're contracted, which is in Canada, or at least in Ontario, is like a different relationship. So I can't really reprimand them. I can't, like, if somebody's super late habitually, like I don't really give a shit if somebody's like 5 minutes late one day because traffic, whatever. But if somebody's habitually late, I can't be like, oh, you're written up, you know? I just have to be like, come on, man. So that's its own challenge too, is like I don't have the same, I have to in some sense manage people, but I don't have the same tools that a manager does in terms of like disciplinary action, things like that, to try and help smarten people up. So I just have to basically get creative with it and find a different way to do it. So that's kind of challenging, but for the most part, we're pretty lucky. Like I'm pretty lucky that most of the teachers where I work are like pretty fantastic, very professional. They're on time, you know, very punctual, good at their jobs, no complaints, really care about teaching. So I'm kind of lucky. Mental domination. Yeah, that's what it is, right? I have to be the alpha to dominate these idiots so that they respect me. Yeah, I call them idiots. It's part of the game. I kind of view it more as like a balancing act, honestly. Like there's 3 people involved in any given interaction. Most of the time it's me, the coordinator, I'm the lesson coordinator, you have the teacher, and then you have the student parent combo. You know, the parent if the kid's too young, sometimes we have adult students, so student parent combo. And nobody can really lean on anybody too hard, otherwise the triangle breaks down. If the teachers are asking me to do a whole bunch of dumb admin shit that doesn't really need to happen just for the sake of something, like asking me to juggle or schedule every single day and stuff, that's not going to work. They can't lean on me that hard. If the student parent is like, oh, I'm going to miss today, so I need a makeup, and the teacher has to like take time out of their busy day to do an unpaid makeup lesson, that's not really fair, you know, if it happens too much. And, you know, if I'm telling the teacher to deal with all their own problems and I'm not doing my job, then that's leaning too hard. So nobody can lean too hard on anybody else. We all have to pull our weight in the system to make it work. And most of our teachers fully understand that. I don't really have too many issues with them. But part of that stems from like the very baseline thing of like getting all of their money every single month. Like we're on I think it's 7-month streak of not missing any payments. The company goal for a lesson center is 95% of collections a month. So 95% of what you bill, you end up actually collecting. And I looked at that and I was like, 95? What? Why only 95? So my goal for myself is 99. And usually we'll get over 99 and then I'll get the rest the next month somehow if I've missed a payment here or there. And so 7 months in a row, we've gotten to 100%, including in March, we actually got 100% like in the month, which had never happened in the store before. So that's like the first thing that I do to show the teachers, like, I'm on your side. Like, I'm not leaning on you to do this. I got this. You focus on teaching. And so I think from there, that probably helps them realize, like, okay, cool. Like, we got somebody who's going to fight for us and make sure that we're getting what we're owed. And that's a really big goal of mine. Something I want to happen. Just makes everything a little bit better.
Makes everybody's life more predictable and a little bit easier. Don't we all crave stability in times like these? Give the no. So actually, we're lessons are supposed to be paid by the it's monthly, because the spot, like once somebody books into a spot, it's in perpetuity, and then and the spot's basically theirs until they tell us they don't want it anymore. So they never have to worry about like, oh, you're getting rescheduled or blah blah blah. And then we bill them monthly, but it's at the beginning of the month, and we're very clear about that. But some folks either don't, or they're absent the first week of the month or something like that. So sometimes you miss them. Sometimes we do a lot of automatic billing. So sometimes people's credit cards decline if they've like gotten a new one and forgot to tell us or something like that. That's mostly what it is. 99.9% of people, we have 450 students, 500 book lessons a month. 99.9% of the time, there's no problem. Like, people understand that it's a business and how that works and all that stuff. You just get the occasional person who's like, oh my God. It's a puppet. But yeah, you get the occasional person who's like, but I should be treated differently. And you're like, nope. Nope. Absolutely not. I had somebody like, this is very, very rare, but I had somebody like force me to credit a lesson when I shouldn't have. And it was something I had to discuss with my manager, and he was like, just credit it because it's not worth it. And I was like, yeah, but then the teacher loses money. But then I learned that there's a way that we can prevent that from happening. So we credit the lesson, but then Long & McQuaid, the company, actually pays the teacher for that one lesson. So the teacher doesn't lose any money. Long & McQuaid's just out the money, which is pretty cool. Like, for a company to do that, they could just be like, well, suck it up. Like, you have to lose. We want to keep that $25, But, yeah, the lady was like, we missed a lesson back in March, blah, blah, blah. Like, credit that lesson. I was like, well, you didn't give us at least 2 weeks notice. So I'm not going to credit the lesson because you have to give us 2 weeks notice if you're going to be absent. Otherwise, the lesson remains billed, as per the policy that literally everybody else abides by. And we went back and forth, and the last email she sent me was like, I'm getting really tired of your reluctance to do the right thing. Give us the credit that we've earned. And like, in my head, I was just like, fuck, like, I don't want to, because you didn't earn it. You didn't do anything other than skip a lesson. Now you're asking to not pay for it like 3 months after the fact. But my boss was like, listen, she's clearly pretty bent out of shape about it. So just do it. We'll pay the teacher. But yeah, the whole like, do the right thing. It's like, fuck you. What do you mean the right thing? As you can see, I was not a fan. Oh, can I close this? There we go. I'm still not a fan. I was so frustrated about it. But I hate it when people are unreasonable like that. Like, it's a completely, and then the other thing that really, really annoys me about stuff like that is like, this person now gets to go through their day thinking that they were in the right when they were absolutely not. And so they get to continue and be like, see, I was right. I did the right thing. I was well within my rights to do what I did. It's like, you weren't, though. You were unreasonable. But no harm, no foul. They're done after June, so I won't ever have to see them again. And I put a note in their file to be like, just so you know, I have gone through. Customer was unaware of lessons policy. Customer is now aware of lessons policy. And I emailed them and was like, just as a reminder, here's what the policy is. Well, I'm not managing 500 people. We just have 500 students per month, 500 lessons per month, 450 students. So it's a big thing, and our lesson center is pretty decently large. So I'm definitely gonna have missed something in here, but poop it. Gotta poop it. Nice. All right, that might actually be pretty much everything. I'll probably have missed something in there, but that's okay. Annoying, but what? No, and I mean, like, in this case, the thing that frustrates me most about retail is when they teach you to do something, they're like, it's policy. You have to follow the policy. And then you're like, okay, cool, I will follow the policy. And then you follow it because that's what you're supposed to do, because that's what they trained you to do, and they drilled it into your head that you have to do this. And then a customer goes, I don't like that. And you're like, well, I'm sorry, but it's policy because you're a good employee and this is what you were taught to do. And then they go to your boss and your boss is like, oh, yeah. No. We'll just, we don't have to worry about that. It's not, we'll just make an exception just this once. And it's like, then why teach me the policy, man? You teach me the policy, you insist that I adhere to it, and then as soon as anybody puts up any kind of fuss, you buckle to them immediately, and then you override me, and then the person gets to walk away thinking that I was being a douche when I wasn't. I was doing what I was trained to do. So that's the frustrating part for me. Is like, you're teaching me these things, and then you're not adhering to them, so I just feel like I'm wasting my time because as soon as anybody puts up any fuss, you're just like, oh, no, of course not. Sir, ma'am, whatever. Of course. We'll make an exception, and you don't have to be bound by the rules that everybody else is bound by because you've complained enough. So, man, that shit is so tilting. That's part of retail, I suppose. I don't even know what I'm cleaning right now, just walls. Nice. Gary Chapape. So it's frustrating for me to have to give that person what they want when they don't deserve it at all. But I can also understand the thing of like, at some point it's just not worth, I'm not getting paid what I am to sit there and argue with somebody who is just going to stomp their feet, dig their heels in and be like, no, I'm right. La 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 la, hee haw, And my biggest thing, and the reason why I didn't want to give this person a credit, is because the teacher loses money. But the teacher didn't lose money. So, all right, fine. I'll get over it, We'll let bygones be bygones on it. But yeah, that's the tilting part about retail. And my manager was like, I know. And trust me, I don't want to give this person what they want either. But they're gone for the summer. They're not going to be here anymore. Their email says they're gone for at least a year. You're not going to have to deal with them. The teacher's not going to lose their money. Just might as well just make it easy. Customers always have the right is the one above all. You know what's interesting, and I learned recently, and maybe you guys know this as well, but the whole customer is always right thing, that's only half the saying. The full saying is the customer's always right in matters of taste. So if a customer wants to buy some really stupid looking stuff, I shouldn't be like, no, that's dumb. But it doesn't mean that they can just treat employees the way that they want. So by shortening that phrase, it's amazing how often that happens. It's the same thing whenever like the police shoot an unarmed black person or something. And then inevitably the commissioner gets on. He's like, oh, it's a few bad apples, blah, blah, blah. It's like, say the rest of the phrase. The phrase is a few bad apples spoil the bunch, right? Like, you can't just stop halfway through the phrase and expect that you've got the whole meaning, because you don't. But anyways, the biggest thing that I want in my interactions with people that I'm coming to realize, one of the things that I value the most is being reasonable. That's all I want. We don't have to agree. We don't have to be happy. If you're reasonable, then I am 100% more likely to completely be fine with whatever you're saying. For example, we have this 2 weeks notice policy for canceling a lesson. So this is for individual cancellations, right? We have a policy for that. And that's to give our teachers some semblance of stability to their schedule. If people could just call out at any time and just be like, yeah, I'm not coming today, and then the teacher didn't get paid for it, they're not going to want to work here because that's a waste of their time. Because they made the trip in, the teacher's here, So we have these policies for that reason. And I think it's really good. I think it strikes the balance. 2 weeks might be a bit excessive. Maybe 1 week would be better, but most people, and teachers can offer makeup lessons as well at their own discretion. So most of the time you can find a makeup and the customer's like, okay, well, I got my lesson, so it's worth it. Great. We have a teacher right now who just had back surgery and so is off for probably 6 weeks at least. We have substitute teachers lined up. So lessons are still ongoing for that teacher, but they're taught by a substitute teacher. Some of them are, and we've kept it so, they're the same each day. Some of them are like, okay, we have one of our own teachers who just picked up an extra day in their schedule basically in his teaching. We have some outside teachers that were brought in. That's great. So the teacher had his surgery last Thursday. So like last week, like 4 days ago, 5 days ago, whatever it is. We sent out the email to everybody explaining to them what was happening on Tuesday. So 2 days in advance. So on Thursday, I had somebody call in and be like, hey, I want to pause my lessons until Christian is back, until our teacher's back, once he's recovered from his surgery. Normally, we would, because that's less than 2 weeks notice, I would charge them for that lesson and the next one after that, because that would be 2 weeks. But in this case, I didn't, because we completely changed the service that we were offering, where it's the teacher that this student would have is very good. They work for us already. They're contracted by us. I know they're good. But when they signed up to take lessons, they signed up with a teacher. I have fundamentally changed that service, right? I've fundamentally changed that service by having a different teacher in there. And I only gave them 2 days notice with this information. So they couldn't have possibly given, this is information that completely affects whether they want to continue lessons. I only gave it to them 2 days before their lesson. So it makes no sense for me in that case to hold them to the 2 week policy when I changed something and didn't give them 2 weeks to really contemplate it. If I had given them 2 weeks notice, if we had been able to, we were scrambling trying to get everything set up logistically because it's a 6 week absence and the teacher's in 5.5 days a week. So it was a lot of work to get organized. But if I had given them 2 weeks notice and then they had come in and been like, Lulu, I don't want to take lessons, then I would have been like, all right, well, you've known this for 2 weeks and you didn't call us. So the next 2 lessons were charged and we'll cancel the ones after that. But in this case, it would be completely unreasonable of me to do that and adhere to that policy. I could, but it's unreasonable. And so I made that judgment call and just canceled all their lessons, like the next 6 lessons at no charge. When normally they should have. Normally somebody might have made them pay for 2. That's all I want. I want reasonableness when I interact with people. Obviously, I can only control my own reaction a lot of the time. But for the most part, I've found that people are generally pretty reasonable. Even if they don't like a policy, once you explain to them the human element of it, they're like, all right, fine. I can accept that. It's like, good. That's all I want. Spontaneous surgery? No, but he didn't have the time booked until like a week before because our medical system is LOL at the moment. So he didn't know when he was going to be having the surgery. Nice. Didn't know when he was going to be having the surgery. And then once he did have the surgery, we needed to get a bunch of teachers. Once he had a date for it, we needed to get teachers lined up for substitutes because just missing 6 weeks of lessons usually means that people are just going to quit at that point because they're not getting their lessons. And then people fall out of their routine and it's hard to get them back. So, yeah. So I'm going to say we were slow, but necessarily slow on the planning because we didn't know when he was going to have surgery. We didn't know if it was going to be now or 6 months from now. Then we had to line up teachers and all that stuff. So we did about as well as we could have given the circumstances, I think. And so now we have to be reasonable, and be like, we are disrupting somebody's service that they are paying for. So we should be accommodating to them in that sense. That's all I want. For people to be reasonable. I think a lot of the world's issues get solved if people are just like, yeah, all right. I get it. I could see it. It's not what I would do. I don't fully agree, but I can see the logic there. We're making good progress though, folks. We started today at like 0% or 1% or something. So looks like we'll probably finish this job tomorrow. We'll see what the rest of Shrek is like. I'm not really sure what this pack is like. There's only 5 jobs. We finished SpongeBob yesterday, and there was 6 jobs in that pack. I looked through the rest of them, and there's only 5 jobs per pack, per DLC pack. But if they're all this long, then this is obviously going to take a lot longer than SpongeBob took me like what, 4.5 hours total. This is going to take me much longer than that. And this has already taken me 2 hours, and I'm only about halfway done it. But yeah, all that to say, I've got somewhere where I can live as long as I want. I've got somewhere where I can work as long as I want. So now's the time to think about the future. And I do want to get back to full-time streaming at some point. Oh, and another thing that's fun about that. So thinking about it and being like, okay, so I did the streaming 8 hours a day, 6 days a week. Well, 5.5 days a week, let's say. I did that. And the style of content that I make, that doesn't always lead to the best results. It did when Fall Guys was popping off, but for something like trophy hunting, where live streaming trophy hunting isn't nearly as popular as YouTube videos about trophy hunting, it doesn't work as well. I've had fun making YouTube videos about trophy hunting in the past, and I would like to continue to do so. So rather than stream 8 to 10 hours a day and then be exhausted afterwards and not really do anything else, I would probably stream like a 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. And if I've got a project to work on, like a YouTube project, then I have, energy at the end of the day to do it. If I'm not working on anything, I can always stream longer. Like I can just be like, oh yeah, I'll just keep streaming this game, whatever I'm playing. If I'm really loving it or we're having a great stream or whatever, I can just flex into that. But if I establish the minimum as 6 hours a day, Monday to Friday or something like that, and then maybe one stream on the weekends, depending on my work schedule, then it makes a lot of sense to me. So we're already adjusting a little bit based on the information we got from our last full-time session. So lots of stuff to try. Nice. Looks like we'll probably get to about 60% today because I think my oven's about to go off. I guess scaffolding is for weenies and people with them. You have to play a popular game like in a work mode to bring people another time when you play like having 2 schedules. That's an interesting idea, and it is one that I thought about. one of the things I've said about my transition away from Fall Guys is I probably should have been more gradual about it. Where I play Fall Guys for like the first half of the day and then change it to something else. I don't think playing a popular game is the move though. Like my stream didn't get popular with Fall Guys until Fall Guys stopped being popular, you know? Like playing a popular game, usually it's extremely saturated and there's a lot of people streaming it, so it makes it harder to stand out. I think you're much more likely to find success carving out a niche and providing something exceptional to that niche, whether it's humor, whether it's whatever. Like, I think you're much more likely to find success doing that rather than just hopping on whatever's popular. I could be wrong about that though. I'm sure plenty of people have had success, you know, just chasing trends and stuff like that. It's just not my personal modus operandi. It's not the way that I would do it. Because I don't want my, like, obviously there are going to be days where streaming feels like work, but if there's a guaranteed part of that time where it's just like, well, here's the part of the day I dread because blah blah blah, then why would I not just work a 9 to 5 and get paid considerably more money? Know what I mean? One of the things I'm probably a little bit too proud of, but most proud of about my time, full-time streaming when I was doing it sustainably, was that I did it my way. You have a lot of folks out there, there's a lot of conventional wisdom that floats around about like how you need to conduct yourself and what you need to do and what kind of schedule you need to have. And I followed some of it. Like having a consistent schedule I think is really important, but in terms of like networking and playing important games and things like that, like I didn't really do any of it. I kind of just did it my way. And it proved to me that I could still do that, you know what I mean? And it's still possible. You don't have to, you know, you don't have to do all the things that all the big streamers are doing. You don't have to force yourself to be a different person. You just have to figure out a way to make what you're doing exciting to watch. Which, you know, easier said than done, but if you build it, they will come. YouTube videos, you're saying, I noticed you find Streamer First on YouTube. For example, looking for a guide. Yeah, for sure. For sure. And YouTube is something where it'd be a good bridge. I got to put my stuff in the oven 1 sec. But yeah, guide content guide content is definitely sort of the standout choice. I would want to start making guides that were, you know, a little bit humorous, like to the point, but a little bit humorous, a little bit something to set them apart from other people's guides. I think my Super Meat Boy video sort of gave me clarity in that as well. Like, it's not a guide video per se, but it's definitely something where I share my experience and then explain how I go about it. And if people found a lot of value in that, or a lot of people found value in that, let's say. And And that was another thing, because it's like that video went on to get, over 25,000 views. And then I plug my stream at the end of it once I've already given you the important content, not before. And so, that generated traffic to my Twitch page. And if I had been streaming on YouTube at the time, I don't think we were allowed to at that point, or maybe we had just become allowed to, but I wasn't streaming to YouTube at the time. And so that would have been super valuable to be able to capitalize on that. And so that's part of what I'm thinking is like, if I have something going, if I have something unique to say and something important that I think can resonate with a lot of people, then I would love to make a YouTube video about it. Worst to worst, I can make guides, any information that I see that's not already readily available. If I came up with a new strat, or if I used a trick that's not really talked about or something, I can make a short video about that. And that could be huge. And that generates traffic to my streams, and then people come in and they're like, oh shit, this person does this, and then we watch and we build a community and all that kind of stuff. That is definitely part of the flow that I want my next full-time streaming thing to have. And I should probably get on that a little bit more frequently, but I don't have a ton of time to do so at the moment. But I should make time to do it, though, because it is important. And I need to build the habits now so that I can carry them on to when I go full-time. We're definitely getting to 60%, and looks like we'll finish this tomorrow. On the morrow. And yeah, sometimes, like, if you're doing guide content, sometimes that's going to necessitate jumping on a game right when it comes out. Because if you're making content that nobody else has, it's more likely to be exceptional. At least for its time. But I also don't want to bang out crappy work just because to try and jump on a trend. There's plenty of games that are good and people like that don't really have great guides. So you can always tap into that as well, Like, fucking Meat Boy is like 10 years old. Almost 10 years old now. I was 9 years old when I made that video. And still, 30,000 people almost watched it and were like, oh yeah, this actually helps. Or at least they watched it. And a fair number of them were like, yeah, this actually helps. This is new. This is novel. Nobody's said this before. This isn't stuff that's readily available. That's the important thing for me. Because if I'm just making another video like, oh, this game's hard. It's like, yeah, we fucking know that. Duh. Good planning ahead, yes, for sure. Like, I don't want to go into this being like, oh, if I just do the same thing I did last time, it'll all work out. Like, it didn't work out last time long term. Some of it did, and I want to take those lessons away, but yeah. Like, I'm not ready to give up on it as like as a career, as something that I can do with my life, because I love it. Like, another thing about the whole winning the lottery question, right? People are like, oh, well, how would you spend the money, blah, blah, blah. But like a more important question in my mind is like, what would you do with your time? Because you would have so much time. And if you don't have anything to fill that time with, you're actually going to be miserable. Like, back in the day, like, you retired at 65 and died at like 70, 75. Now it's like you retired 65 and lived to your like 90. So if you don't have anything to do, you're going to be miserable. If you don't have a hobby to pick up, but like, so when I think about winning the lottery, like, this is what I would do. I love this. And so if I can make it so I don't have to win the lottery to do it, and that seems pretty good to me. So yeah, definitely planning ahead is important, because if I want to make this work, I have to be smart about it. I can't just be like, it'll work out. It'll work out. We'll just figure it out. Get this out of my sight. What? I'm gonna put it somewhere where I don't need to clean anymore. No scaffolding required. Oops, hang on. Huh. I wonder. I mean, it's about the same at this point. It's a cleaner line, though. It's going to be kind of nice. All right, see you later, Gil. Thanks for hanging around. Good chat. Oh. Problem is when you get too close. All right, we're good. The streams are split, so you end up with like lines and gaps. Nice. Looking good. See this side of the road first. That's all one piece. Hello? It's so close. Yes. Easy. Nice. Thank God. Whew. Well, this is looking pretty decent. If you just look at it from this corner, it looks great. Just don't look anywhere else. It's fine. All right, let's look for the walls. Oven's about to go off, so let's just try and finish like this little stripe. Alrighty. Let me grab my stuff and then I'll say bye. Alrighty, folks. That's going to do it for me for the day. Appreciate you all hanging out here. And we should be able to finish this tomorrow. It doesn't look like it's going to be too hard, just spraying up the walls and stuff. So until then, I will see you all later. Have yourselves a good one. Bye-bye.